I am Michelle from Erie River. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today we are here doing a live book launch of It Calls from the Sea, and we are really excited about this. This is launch number one of two, because we're doing a whole launch weekend because, I don't have the book in my hand, but I have these. It deserves it. Look at that cover. Or what would have been a cover had I been holding a book and not just a bookmark and a postcard. This cover was by a Canadian-French artist called Francois Valancourt, and he is a fantastic horror artist. If you are someone that is looking for a book cover, I highly recommend him. He's fantastic to work with. But we are here today to celebrate our launch of It Calls from the Sea. Now, this is, I want to say it's the third, but it's really the fourth book, because we had Calls from the Forest 1, Calls from the Forest 2, It Calls from the Sky, and It Calls from the Sea. So this is our fourth book, third call from the It Calls From collection, and we are really excited about it. This one went, in some cases, really dark. We have some brand new authors with us. So let's introduce everybody. I'm going to start with Dave because I saw him laugh at that. So here's David Green.
I'm still laughing.
I know. Then we've got Chris Hewitt with us today.
Hello.
Georgia Cook.
Hello.
Tim Mendes. And Simone Green as well.
Hi.
So hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We've got some people that have joined already. It looks like Michelle. Hello, Michelle and Ashley. Hope you guys are having a great day. Now, if anybody has any questions for our viewers, feel free to add them. And do please remember, if you can, to write your name down. Not write your name. I'm writing your name down. We are going to be doing draws throughout for some of these fancy dancy postcards. As well as some bookmarks, and we're also going to do a draw for a signed paperback. Now, that draw is going to happen in a week. We're going to give people a week to view this and to comment, and as long as you've commented during any time on the main page, you will be entered into a draw for a signed paperback. So make sure you say hi or ask a question. Hi, Peter and Sophie and Anja and Holly. So, hi, everybody. Who is ready to talk? It Calls from the Sea. And then David. I'm not putting you in the draw, David.
Please. Someone asked if it was going to be fixed like Tim's was the other day, so please fix it.
It wasn't a fix. Totally fixed.
So we've got a fun little thing. We're going to do a little intro to everybody, and then everyone's going to have some time to talk about their story and even read a little bit of their story. So let's start. I hate picking. Who wants to go first? Oh my gosh, George is laughing. She's going first. Georgia.
Oh no!
First. All we need to do is just tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into writing, and give us where we can find you, so your social media details.
Sure. Hello. My name's Georgia Cook. I'm an illustrator and fantasy and horror writer from London. You can find me on Twitter mostly at Georgia Cooked. And mostly I write short stories for anthologies and magazines.
Yeah, what got you into? So you're a writer and you're a digital artist?
I'm an illustrator. Yes,
an illustrator. Oh, awesome! Mm-hmm. So what got you into writing horror?
I've always wanted to write horror. I mean, in my cartoonist life, I draw very, very cute, very sort of child-friendly artwork for kids' TV shows, and I love horror. I've always loved horror. I was like, at the start of the pandemic, I was like, I want to write some horror. I want to do some horrific things.
Yeah.
And
like, I want to kill some people.
Yeah. I want to do some nasty things to some people. And here I am.
That's perfect. Well, we're glad to have you here.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah. Hello, we've got Julie Stevens saying hi. So hello, Julie. All right, Chris, I'm picking you now. You look like you're
playing with my mic button because I can't figure out if it's off or on.
It's on.
Ah, brilliant. So, hi, my name's Chris Hewitt, and I guess I'm an author, writer, and that's pretty much it. Dog walker. That's all I do these days. And
at least you're getting out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in the rain mostly. So you can find me on my website, muse.blog is probably the easiest, and then everything else, the social media platforms are off there.
Excellent. So what got you into writing horror?
I don't know. In the sense of I got into writing, I just ended up doing horror because there were more anthology calls. I don't see myself particularly wedded to horror. I never felt the need to kill anybody, just to be clear.
Oh. Well, now I feel weird.
Yeah. It doesn't mean there aren't better bodies in the basement.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just saying, I never felt the need. It's just that some people deserve it. But I guess I got into writing horror because I've got a bit of a dark side.
As we all do. So I'm glad, you need to embrace it sometimes. So I'm glad you're doing it in your books and not in real life.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah. Let's move on to Simone. Introduce yourself and where can we find you?
Hi, I'm Simone and I am coming to you live from the Basement of Love. I write under the pen name Esso Green and you can find me at thebasementoflove.blogspot.com, which is where I list all the books I appear in, and it's also my soapbox of choice. My hobbies include playing video games that came out 5 years ago, because that's really the only way to get a finished game. Learning how to kill people with my bare hands. And I cook because I don't want anything to go to waste.
So what got you into sorry, I'm like skipping over the fact that you like to kill people with your bare hands and you're liking to cook. That was funny. I don't know why I didn't expect that from you. You have to understand, me and Simone have chatted back and forth a fair bit because for those that don't know, they are now a part of the Erie River editing team. So although we've messaged back and forth, I haven't necessarily heard the humor before, and I'm very much appreciating it.
Oh, stop.
So what got you into horror besides, just learning basic life skills?
Well, I am a terrible person, but I don't like jail.
Okay, I understand that. I feel you. Chris is the only one that's like, no. I've never needed to kill.
I was going to say, I like jail.
I like jail.
Well, if anybody asks, you can provide my alibi then.
Yeah.
Well, you got a fall guy. Yeah.
All right.
I've always wanted one. Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Wait, did you tell us why you got into horror? Oh, wait.
I think we understood it.
Okay, sorry. David, let's go next. Who are you? Where can we find you?
So I'm Simone's cousin, David, and
hi, cousin.
Hi, cousin. How's it going? Long time. No here. So what am I doing? Oh yeah. So yeah, I write fantasy and horror and sci-fi, so basically everything. But I do tend to go towards the dark things, which is strange because people think that I'm really optimistic and nice and sunny and stuff. But I'm a real miserable bastard in many respects. So it comes out in my writing. The reason I got into horror, writing in general, was because my son was just born. And I became a stay-at-home dad, so I was like, I need to do something, otherwise I'm going to go insane. And so I started murdering people in writing.
Yeah. I'm like, that checks out, everybody. It really does.
Yeah. It's worked out well so far.
Okay, so sorry. I'm Tim. Tell me a little bit about you. What don't we know? Well, where can we find you?
I'm Tim Mendes. I'm a moderately tentacle-obsessed writer from the UK. I currently live in Brighton, originally from Macclesfield. You can check out my website, is probably the easiest, which is timmendeswriter.wordpress.com.
Now, what got you into writing horror? Because I know, let's just start with that one.
Well, I'd never had any desire to write anything other than horror, to be absolutely honest. So when basically my career and everything as a chef was ended by a spinal condition, I just decided I was going to finally write that novel that I've been saying I was going to write for decades. And it just turned into, just carried on. So yeah, basically, if I can get tentacles in it, I'm happy.
Yeah, because you are the ones that you do tend to stick to the weird Lovecraftian feel kind of horror, right? I do,
yeah. That's kind of my bag. I mean, it's what I read, it's what I love.
Yeah.
And I do stray from it every now and then, but it is very rare. I like that. I like that cosmic indifference and all that kind of. I'm pretty much a bit of a nihilist, if I'm honest. So I mean, that just it shoots me in the heart. All that kind of stuff. We are all insignificant, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes right down to it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so it was great seeing everybody here so far. So we will, I'll get everyone to send me all of their contact details, and I'll make sure that it's in the details of this post. So after, if people want to connect with you, they can find you, or if you want to, you can also change your name at the bottom to a Twitter handle or something like that, if you want people to connect that way. But what we're going to do next is we're going to do a really exciting part. All of us, we're going to separate. We'll be back together later. But we're going to do a small reading from our chapter. So does anyone have the urge to go first, or shall I just choose?
Not me.
I'll go first if you want.
If you're good with going first, you'll go first.
I'm fine. I'm going to go first if you want.
All right. So I'm going to say goodbye to everybody else for right now. So bye, Georgia. Again, if I kick you on a screen, please come back.
Amazing.
Yeah. Bye, Chris. Let's say bye to everybody. Bye, cousins.
Bye.
Bye. All right. So let's talk a little bit. Hold on one second. Can you pick the order here? I'm just typing to everybody in the background, going, "Tell me who wants to go next."
Right, got you.
So tell me a little bit about your story. Your story is called, is it Franz? Is that
Franz?
Yes.
Indeed. Now, Franz is one of my favorite words. I love it. Franz. Okay. So basically, I've always wanted to write a story called Franz. So when the C thing came up, it was yeah. But the thing is as well, because of a lot of what I write, there's a lot of tentacles in it and stuff like that. And I thought that C, for this call, you're gonna get two things. You're gonna get Cthulhu and Jaws. So I wanted to do something slightly different than that. So I didn't want to go with shark, and I didn't want to go with octopus. So seaweed. You know, plus if you've ever been in the sea and you've had seaweed getting around your leg, it is a horrible feeling. So that was basically the sort of thinking behind it. But it also ties into a lot of other things that I've written.
Yeah.
Because I know there's a lot of links in my stories. There's links to this to a novella I've written. There's links in this to a story called Fruits de Mer, which it came out last year. It's all part of my sort of milieu, my kind of mythos thing.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything I write
great.
is
It's
sort
good
of
to
linked.
have. It's nice when you can have those intertwining storylines, because there are going to be people that are following your stories. So hopefully they're picking up on those kind of things and being interested by them, right? Like,
yeah, when I first started, I instantly knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to create a bit like Lovecraft Country, like Lovecraft's sort of New England. I wanted to do a very British take on it, but not in the way that Ramsey Campbell did. I wanted to do a very sort of parochial, almost village greens and daffodils, and a very sort of like almost Python-esque.
Okay.
And with I'm also a huge fan, as well as like Lovecraft and stuff. I'm also a huge fan of like P.G. Wodehouse. So you'll see a lot of that in a lot of the things I write with the strange characters. So it was just a case of, right, well, it was one of these stories that just kind of wrote itself, which is always a nice feeling, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's going to be exciting. So I am excited to hear it. Do you want to tell people a little snippet about it, or do you want to just like dive?
Well, I'm going to have to give people. I'm going in sort of some way into it.
Okay.
So I'll give everybody sort of a catch up.
All right, then I will leave you be. Just enjoy, have fun.
Thank you.
And thank you for reading.
No problem.
Yeah.
I love it. It's fun.
Or else you
This is my social life.
I know. I feel you. All right, see you in a bit.
Yeah, thanks. Hello, folks. Right. My story is called Fronds. And like I say, we're going to come into it sort of about a third of the way through. Now, it focuses around two main characters, one of which is called Ruth. And she works at a... I've got some weird echo here. She works at a research centre. She's a marine biologist, and she basically spends her time looking at weird, samples and all that kind of business. Now, her assistant is a guy on loan called his name's Martin, isn't it? Yeah, Martin. And he's a bit of a buffoon. And anyway, one day on the beach, they find this strange kind of sea kelp. Now, she thinks it's linked to the plutocap spores in a local sea cave, which is off limits because the plutocap spores it's dangerous mushroom, basically. But anyway, after a few drinks one night, Martin decides it's going to be an awesome idea to rent a dinghy and go out into the sea and go and get some kelp. Because basically this guy, he fancies this Ruth woman, and he thinks this will make her fall for him. Anyway, we're going to join this with Martin, pretty drunk, in a dinghy, in the sea outside of Cornwall. Finally, the rolling waves worked in his favour. As the water crested, his boat was sent surging between the rocks and into the mouth of the cave, the boat thudding against the stone as it followed the inlet. Martin turned on his waterproof lamp and gasped, "Bloody hell!" Never in his wildest dreams had he expected a sight like this. The cave rose in an almost pyramidal way to the centre point, which was presumably where the meteor had hit. The walls were thick with a disgusting fungal growth, glowing with an eerie luminescence, and clumps of sickly mushrooms sprouted from the floor and clustered around cracks and fissures. Towards the far corner, next to where the tunnel had been sealed with a rusted iron gate, grew a huge clump of the mystery weed. "Jesus," Martin muttered as he manoeuvred the boat towards a natural ramp. "This place looks like a 70s album cover." Once the boat was secured by tying it to a large rock, Martin stepped out onto the slimy rocks. After giving himself a mental pat on the back for remembering his wellies this time, he picked up his bag containing gardening shears, a trowel, and a roll of bin liners. Picking his way over the uneven surface, Martin marvelled at the growth on the walls. It was almost as though he was inside the mouth of a giant creature. No trace of rock was visible under the shimmering blue fungus. It looked to Martin like the cave had been decorated with wallpaper designed by H.R. Geiger. Huge, bulbous clumps of it lined the walls like boulders. It was unnerving, like standing in a fever dream. But by far the worst aspect of the cave, however, was the smell. The sickly sweet scent of decay mingled with an almost meaty sourness that, along with the iodine smell of stagnant seawater and a metallic taint from the rusty gate, created a foulness that could have come straight from the devil's rectum. It took all of Martin's strength not to throw up. The weed rippled as he approached, the fronds dancing with unearthly colours. It would have been beautiful if it didn't look like rotting fingers. Martin tore off a strip of plastic and laid it on the floor before kneeling down. Next, he tore off another length and owned it out before taking the shears from his bag. Leaning forwards, Martin grabbed a hold of a clump of the weed and prepared to snip it off just above the root. It rustled and shook furiously as he tried to pull itself free from his grip. But Martin was too fast. With a loud snip, which echoed off the walls, he cut away a clump after clump of weird vegetation. It could have been his imagination, or a strange effect caused by the whistling wind, but Martin was sure that the weed screamed. It was high-pitched, barely audible cry of pain that set his teeth on edge. Stuffing the cuttings into a bin liner, Martin decided he'd been in there far long enough. The atmosphere had grown oppressive, like the growth was closing in around him. He noticed that the walls had joined the weed in swirling and undulating with colour. Martin put the shears back in the bag before dumping it and the bag of weeds back into the dinghy. Reaching out to grab the lamp, Martin screamed as a thick frond shot out from the plant and coiled around his wrist. Martin tried to yank his arm away, but the plant was unnaturally strong. It contracted tighter and tighter until it cut into his flesh. Thrashing around in pain, Martin tried to free himself with his free hand. He groped behind himself for the bag, but it was too far out of reach. The momentary lapse of concentration cost him dearly as the weed yanked him forwards, and he fell into it face first. The shimmering colour of the weed enveloped his vision as he gasped for air and tried to get his balance. The fronds bristled around him and writhed like serpents, coiling around his head. Thick, finger-like strands clamped him firmly as several of the disgusting bladders loomed in front of his eyes. They throbbed and pulsed to a steady rhythm, as though they were in tune with some unholy cosmic melody. Martin screamed as the bladders opened as one. A dense cloud of sticky spores shot up his nose, into his eyes, into his mouth. He coughed and spluttered as it finally let him go. He twisted his body and landed on his back a couple of feet away from the shrub. Gasping for air, he pawed at his face to clear away the ghastly excrescence, blood from his wrist only adding to the mess. Sitting up, Martin cupped his hands and splashed his face with seawater. The salt stung his wrist and seared his nostrils. It took several more splashes to clear the substance from his skin. Martin yelped as a sharp sound came from the nearby wall. Holy shit, Martin spluttered as he saw the source of the rhythmic clacking. It was from the clumps of fungus that lined the walls, only they weren't clumps of fungus or boulders. They were oysters, huge, craggy oysters filled with thrashing blue tentacles. On every beat, the cave flashed with colours that his mind couldn't comprehend. He got to his feet and found that his legs had turned to jelly. The clack of the oysters and the flash of the lights quickened with every second. His vision swimming and his guts doing backflips. His head rolled on his shoulders as the sensory assault left him disorientated. Left and right, up and down, all had lost meaning. He was adrift in a maelstrom of kaleidoscopic visions. And if you want to find out what happens to this poor unfortunate soul, you will have to buy It Calls from the Sea.
Great reading.
Thank you. Yeah.
I love that. Good job.
Thank you.
Now, do you have where like the inspiration came, or was it specifically the word?
What do you mean? Sorry.
Like where the inspiration? Well, you said that you always wanted to write a story, Franz. So is that where the inspiration?
Yeah.
For the
Well,
story
because I remember as a kid. Like when you walk out in the sea and you get them horrible, like bits of kelp wrapped around your toes and stuff like that. It's really horrible.
No,
it's
it is.
I've been more terrified by like seaweed than like jellyfish and things like that. Because it's like hands, isn't it, grabbing you? It's like,
exactly.
Yeah. Plus, when you get the ones that are on the beach and they've all dried out, and you've got them bladders and they're sort of open and there's black flies everywhere, they're pretty disgusting. Although I say in that, I love cooking with seaweed. I'm a big fan of seaweed to eat. So yeah. But anyway, yeah, it was mainly that thought as like that sort of memory as a kid. You know, if anything freaks you out as a kid, it never leaves you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's what it was, like wading out. What's that? You know. Yeah,
well, it was good. I think it was good fodder for a story. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Well worth the kid disgustingness. All right, so I'm going to thank you so much for reading. That was awesome. I'm going to say goodbye for right now, and we will see you in a little bit. Yeah, all right, so next up is going to. Oh wait,
one.
I hit the wrong button.
You hit the wrong button. I do that all the time.
I know. I was like exit solo mode. I'm like, oh yeah, that's got to be it, but no.
Yeah. No.
Here we go. I did it. Okay. Everyone's just down there. I can see everyone. They're just laughing at me. Okay. So next up is Georgia Cook. Let's see if I can get her. Uh-oh. Oh, that's how we do it. Okay.
Hey! We were just admiring Tim's prop work backstage.
He's like next level live reader. I don't necessarily read very often, and when I do, I'm like, I don't have props. I'm like, I have scissors. That's generally what my prop is. You pretending to scissors, like cut somebody. So your story, what's the title? Give us a little bit of an intro to it.
Yeah. So my story is called Dead Ships. And it was very much inspired by the phenomena of kind of ghost ships like the Mary Celeste and the kind of the maritime phenomenon of fishing vessels and yachts and things like that have been found adrift on the ocean full of a dead crew. So everyone on the boat has died, which is a little bit morbid.
I just got like weird shivers.
Yeah. And I really wanted to write a story. I wouldn't say that was dreadful, but a story that was filled with dread, you know.
Yeah.
It kind of had an atmosphere about it, had a bit of a post-apocalyptic tinge.
Yeah.
So I had a go at that with a cluster of ghost ships.
I enjoyed that. I think it hit all of those notes for me when I read it, because I remember reading it and going, ooh. Because you're always looking for that kind of feel in a story. So for me, it worked very well. So I really like it. So that's exciting. Did you want to give a little bit of a intro? Well, do you know what? I'm going to let you go. You decide if you want to do intro or if you want to just jump right in it.
Thank you.
All right. Good luck. Happy reading. Now, again, if I kick you out, I'm sorry.
Hey. Hello, lovely people. So Dead Ships is quite short. So I'm just going to go right from the beginning to a little way in. So, Dead Ships. It washed up at dawn, drawn in on the morning tide from around the curve of the bay. A fishing boat, small enough for a cabin and a crew of 3, but of no make or name we recognised. It curved gently towards the beach, its path haphazard and aimless, engines silent and windows dark. By the time it hit the shingle and ploughed to a juddering halt, a small crowd of us had gathered on the dockside to watch. There's something about an empty boat, something dragged in off the tide like that, slow and sedate. You get to feeling it after a certain time at sea, like a second sense, That's why none of the old fishermen made a move when it finally came to rest. They already knew what we'd find. Perhaps it started with the snow. Great driving fistfuls we got that month. Merciless, relentless, day after day. A frigid wind howled it down off the cliff tops, swamping the roads and transforming the hills into impenetrable white monoliths. Nobody arrived in town. Nobody left. That's how things go around here come winter. There's a saying in these parts that it takes a special kind of madness to move here from out of town, and another kind to stay. The seas and the cold breed a particular type of person. It settles in the bones, squeezes the lungs, sharp and cloying in every breath. This far north, the cold is bitter. Or perhaps it started before that, and none of us noticed. Some of us tried to sail that week, but only made it as far as the curve of the bay before we were forced to turn back. Battered by the gale and the driving snow, there was no thought of casting our nets. Cutting through the snow was like cutting through ice. Nothing in either direction but tumbling flakes and shifting black sea. We watched the snow fall, watched it settle on the water and sink, and out of it all we watched the boat arrive. Philip Abernathy was the first to climb aboard, shimmying up the side like a boy climbing a drain pipe. 23 that May, newly promoted, the youngest constable in a town of sturdy fishermen and grey-faced old men. Possibly he felt it his duty to take charge, or at very least be the first to check. He was, after all, vastly on his own up here until the snows cleared and the mountain roads became accessible again. He'd been our constable for all of 2 months, and up until then had contended with nothing worse than the odd drunk and disorderly on a Saturday night. It was too cold, too dark to expect any trouble worth hurrying for. He disappeared inside the captain's cabin, calling nervously, then stumbled out a moment later and was violently sick over the side. The old fisherman knew, and now we knew too. No ship so silent has ever been manned by the living. And that's where I'll stop.
I hit the right button. That was great.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, I loved it. Do you have any parting words for it, or
I don't know. Please read it. Please buy a copy of the book.
Buy the book.
Buy the book.
Yeah, it's a lovely. Now, this one, I will say, this book itself, I don't have it in my hands because it hasn't been delivered yet. You got yours? It is a big book.
It's a big old one. And the cover is so gorgeous. In person, it is just, it's stunning. I love it.
All right, perfect. I'm so glad. So yeah, well, I'm glad you got your copy. We're going to have to I'm going to have to get you to smell it for me and describe it because I'm weird and I smell
new book smell.
Exactly.
It smells of horror.
Yeah. Yeah, which is I'm assuming just what Amazon printing shops smell like.
Oh, I imagine, yes.
It's human horror. All right, well, thank you so much for reading and for being here, and we will bring you back on when we have some questions from everyone, all right? So thank you so much. Yeah.
Bye.
All right, next one up. I know I wrote this down. I'm pretty sure it's David. It is. Are we ready? Yeah. I just wanted to make sure. I didn't know if
I just thought of something as you said my name. Yeah. I thought of something as you said my name, and I just kind of zoned out for a second, and then I was like, "Oh wait, that's messy."
Yeah.
I should look like I'm I don't have.
Because I'll put you on anyways.
I have one, not props.
I'm like, it's not wine time here. It's still coffee time.
You put some Baileys or whiskey into your coffee.
It would be bad. This would be a mess. So
it's fine. We're amongst friends. It's fine.
It's true. Everyone here's friends. We're good. So tell us a little bit about your story. What was it called?
What's it called? Mine is called Into the Depths, and it's about a scientific exploration into the Mariana Trench. They're trying to go deeper than people have been before. with consequences.
Yes. Yours, yeah, I have to say, like, I know that I'm publishing your books coming up soon. In Solitude Shadow coming out June something. Yeah. But this story specifically was actually probably one of my favorite stories you've written. It's in the horror genre.
Yeah, no, I tried because like I tried I tried to write something good. No, because like this is the first time I've had something accepted for the Carl series because I've
I think this was your like full first exception for a short story, wasn't it?
Yeah, because then I got accepted for Midnight Shadows. Oh, that stuff for the monthly stuff.
Yeah, the monthly call happened after this, didn't it?
Yeah, and then the fantasy one. Around the same time, I think. But yeah, this was the first one, and because I think before that, I kept on just going like really like existential kind of horror kind of stuff, and it was all like really like weird and like all like kind of psychological and stuff. And I was like, why do I keep writing these things?
I know. I kept telling you to stop.
Yes, yeah. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to write something that's just like it's like a slasher movie, but on a submarine. Was the inspiration.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was very well. People are going to find out now. So if you want to do a little intro, do a little intro. But if not, I'm just going to tag you on.
Yeah, I'll go straight into it. Yeah,
let's do this.
Okay, so this is a little bit from hello everyone. This is a little bit from Into the Depths. So it's about kind of after the setup, and then we join with the main character who's a woman called Deneen, who is the head scientist. She's kind of the expedition leader on this state-of-the-art sub. But things have been going wrong, and this is kind of after something has happened, and she's kind of trying to keep it together, and then she goes off on her own for a little while. Deneen often gave her imagination free rein when she thought of the secrets the Mariana Trench might hold, but now, as a tiny speck in the abyss's maw, she could only think of the cold, dark, crushing water surrounding her in the vast well of emptiness. Her heart thudded in her chest, and Deneen's breath pumped in a short, fast, uneven rhythm. Her neck muscles tightened as she imagined all the weight outside the sub's hull squeezing her. A fucking panic attack, she breathed, leaning her forehead against the metallic wall. She closed her eyes and racked her brain for anything safe, but visions of black water crashed into her mind. Deneen beat her fist against the smooth surface, its clang giving her something to latch onto. No, she growled, I'm not afraid. You and I are the only people in this tub that ain't cat, her voice drawled to her right. Deneen half jumped as she spun to face Brett, the ship's medical officer, and a man she regretted bringing on board. He'd charmed her when she'd interviewed him, and his knowledge of medicine and experience in the US Navy impressed her, but his abrasive, arrogant nature soon revealed itself as they disembarked for the trench. A loner, the rest of the crew gave him a wide berth unless they required his help. He appeared to like that just fine. She punched him hard on the shoulder. Brett rolled of it and threw her a lopsided grin as he leaned against the wall. Fuck Anderson, Deneen snapped, using his surname. Almost gave me a goddamn heart attack. Sneaking up on people, for fuck's sake. Brett raised his eyebrows in mock surprise. Well, I passed Jacob shambling towards his cabin, muttering about sabotage. Thought I'd come find you to say that, in medical terms, your boy's in danger of going full-on wacko. He smiled again. You ain't looking much better. Go fuck yourself, Deneen growled. She had to thank the doctor for perceiving anger now obliterating the panic that had threatened to overwhelm her. If he needs meds or an evaluation, go do it. You don't need my permission. Too right, Brett replied, peering at his fingernails as if he tried to decide which one he liked best. Can do the same for you. There's 8 crew on board. I'm the one who can relieve you on medical grounds if I feel necessary. Don't forget it. Is that a threat? Brett shrugged, then met her brown eyes with his piercing blue ones. What did Jacob mean by sabotage? Deneen pulled breath into her lungs and counted to 5. Better that than unleashing her anger on the sub's only medic. Nad's having trouble telling us where we are, she replied, smoothing her voice as best she could. Mateo reckons the water pressure has messed with the systems. Jacob spooked. Oh, your boyfriend would know better than Navigator, I suppose, Brett smiled with a wink. He's not. I don't care. We're all adults here, Brett replied. He lifted an index finger and pointed it towards the ceiling. Go up, break water, get a readout, send an SOS. Problem solved. Then the crew can stop their descent into fucking madness. It ain't just Jacob. Thanks, brains, Deneen laughed. The land is this. Without the nav, we don't know where that is. We're swimming blind. We could surface, but our position might have us too close to the Mariana sides, or something might lie above us. We float in the correct direction, that is. If you don't mind, I've got some downtime. She pushed past him and tried to ignore his eyes burning holes into the back of her head as she descended deeper into the sub's belly. And I'll leave it there.
All right. That was a very exciting reading. I realized before. Well, thank you for reading that. I don't know what else to say about your story because I don't want to give a lot of stuff away about it because it was just. I just really enjoyed the characters that you put on there. Like we had so many different characters and just like the different nuances of being in a ship. Or a ship, vessel type thingamajigger.
Yeah. Well, I kind of wanted to go for I wanted to just say I wanted to do that kind of just like a slasher movie kind of thing in a submarine, but I wanted to kind of do something a little bit, which is like kind of what I like as well with the kind of like psychological aspects of it, but I don't want to go too deep into that. But also I'm quite claustrophobic, so I wanted to kind of try and put that into it quite a bit. So I've had panic attacks from being claustrophobic before and everything, so I kind of wanted to kind of get that into the story to kind of bring that into it as well. And hopefully people get that sense of panic when you read it.
I think so. I know that there were definitely moments of that within the story, so I think you did a really good job putting it across. So, and because I forgot to do this before with the other authors, and I will, when they come back up, do it as well. Another great reading.
Thanks so much.
I'm so looking forward to getting this book in my hands. I know, Mackenzie, I am dying to get my copy. It's just, and we've had a couple more people say hi. So hello, Pan, and Michelle had to take off, but there's Michelle and Neen. Sophie, yes, that's awesome. Okay. So I'm going to say goodbye to David because next we have Simone, who is going to be reading their story and giving us a little bit of I did it again.
It's terrifying.
I did it again. Yeah, goodbye. Sorry. I just enjoy mixing up the exit solo and exit stream. So anyways, next we have Simone Green, who writes under the pen name of S.O. Green. I almost removed myself from the stream instead of adding them. Here we go. Hi, sorry about that.
Hello, it's okay because David and I look very, very similar anyway, so you couldn't have really told the difference between us, so I can see why you made that mistake.
It's just, and it's so silly, but it's just like a button. And I just, for some reason, my brain always reads it back. Yeah, I mix them up every single time, apparently. So tell us your story. What is it called? What is it about? And was there any inspiration behind it?
Well, the story I'll be reading today is called The Shadow over Innsmouth High, and it's a Lovecraft parody. It was an idea that I'd had originally to be a teen romance story with Innsmouth Deep Ones as the love interests, but obviously when it was for Erie River, it had to become a horror story. And I'd wanted to present Innsmouth as a town that was really struggling to be modern. So I wanted to introduce the concept of Olympic swimmers and renewable energy all being kind of centred in there. And in a lot of movies and books about the town, not a lot is made of teenagers growing up in that environment. And I thought that was key because they kind of have to be indoctrinated from birth. They're fanatics and mutants, and it means the high school atmosphere becomes a literal Shark Tank, drop an uninitiated transfer student in the middle of that. and you have all the right ingredients for a good day in the basement. Instead of the usual love triangle, I settled on a couple who decided to take the main character into a throuple, so it isn't the usual dispute between two characters over the protagonist. It's a pair of lunatics fishing for something new, which I think is probably inspired because my own home situation is quite nice and sweet and fluffy, so fiction is where I get to have a bit of fun with all the nasty, horrible types of romance, which is where the name The Basement of Love comes from.
I think it's perfect. The Basement of Love, as well as I think the story hits a lot of key elements, and it's a different tone because it does have more of the teenage characters through it than some of the other stories, and a fair amount of the story itself has taken place like in the actual town. It isn't necessarily on the sea where some of them are. So this book has like a big swath of different type of stories and horror horror genres within it, which I think is really cool. So I'm glad to have this story in there. So I'm going to leave you to yourself to give us, I was going to say, give me a thumbs up when you want me to.
Thumbs up here.
I'm done. So I can.
Michelle, save me.
I know. Get me off of the screen. Okay, so you are. Not yet. 1, 2, 3, go.
Okay. So my reading is during the main character Kat's first day. She's finding her place at Innsmouth High and she's been challenged to swim. Because she was a swimmer at her old school, she's risen to that challenge. And I'd like to ask if you're all sitting comfortably. Good. Then we shall begin. She was the last girl out of the locker room. That was her design. She'd been too sedentary during the move, and her costume didn't fit so great anymore. She wished she'd kept up the training. This wasn't how she wanted to find out she'd put on weight. She slunk back to the poolside with her arms crossed. Shell had been lumbering up by the pool, but the moment she spotted Kat, she stopped and waved. Hey, what took you so long? Probably took her a few minutes to shoehorn her ass into that suit, Sally jeered. You look like a manatee. Kat scowled. You ever been slapped by a manatee? Shell cackled. It made the words and disparaging looks a little easier to shrug off, knowing the other girl had her back. They lined up at the podiums. Kat was between Sally and Shell, but it didn't matter, not when you were swimming. None of it mattered. Not the new school, not the smell of the seaweed, not the crowd cheering and whooping and screaming above you, just the frothing blue below. She stretched out, ignoring the way the suit hugged and pinched at her limbs. The moment the air hound sounded, she sprang into the water. Then everything was white noise and movement. She didn't have to think about Sally or Shell or Finn with his dark, brooding eyes. She was ploughing through the water, and part of her thought that maybe she was going to win. Something grabbed her by her ankle and dragged her under. She flailed, trying to kick it off, but it didn't let go. Not until it had sunk its teeth into her calf. She exhaled bubbles and her scream popped on the water's surface. Then her attacker was gone. She was kicking herself up, lungs burning, brain darkening, leg aching. She burst up into the air and pedalled like a dog across the other lanes to the edge. She hadn't even finished her length. The other girls were rising out of the water, each like Venus clad in black spandex. Shell looked like the overall winner. As she watched, Finn wrapped an arm around her and kissed her in a way that wouldn't get a PG-13 certification. Sally seemed more interested in Kat than the medal table. She grinned right at her, and her teeth looked sharp. Kat's hand quested down to her calf, where a circle of bleeding holes marked the muscle. She winced, her fingers coming away sticky red. Hard luck, fish, Sally called. You need thicker skin if you want to swim in this pool. Help me, Michelle.
Help me, Michelle. I was like, I don't remember that line. And I was like, oh.
That was our safe word.
I know. All right. Great little reading. Did you tell us, was there some inspiration that went into this, or was it more just because you had a story that worked and you needed,
I think it was the concept was kind of floating about, but having the call allowed it to be kind of directed and expanded into a proper story more than just an idea.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, thank you for reading. Oh, we've got great reading, Simone from Neen, and then Julie. Great job, Simone. Chris Banner.
Thank you.
Love it.
You're also so supportive. Thank you very much.
I'm just happy I'm not the only one that thought helping Michelle with the birth story.
I should have taken a breath and then screamed for help. That is the polite way to do things.
I don't remember Michelle being a character because, like, some other people do write Michelles in books. And yeah, great reading from Mackenzie. Perfect. Okay. We have, so I'm going to say goodbye for right now, and we'll bring you back up for the small question and answer period we have coming up. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Again, if I kick you out fully, just
cry.
I did it again.
I am in charge now.
I did it again.
Simone is ruling the roost.
Oh, okay. My brain is just not functioning. There we go.
I was going to duck out the way there.
Sorry, I was supposed to be like, Chris is next, and instead I just threw you on.
No worries.
So I am really looking forward to
Yeah, I know you are.
I have been looking forward to everybody's story because I think personally, this is, and I say it every time because obviously the newest one's always your favorite, but this is the newest one and it's my favorite collection so far.
Yeah,
I really love. Yeah, the quality of writing in the sea is just phenomenal. I'm so excited about everyone that submitted. We had so many submissions. So it was really exciting to see everyone, and everyone's ideas were really unique and interesting. And that comes up to your idea. Tell us a little bit about your story.
So, yeah, I guess the idea for my story, I guess there are really two aspects. One was to write something you hadn't seen before.
Mm-hmm.
You specifically, because you said, I've seen it all before. Because you read all of these, you've read how many? 700. So it was try to come up with something that Michelle hadn't seen before, sea-based, and that took me a very long time. I think I probably got it in hours towards the deadline, and I think the moment was David Attenborough, watching David Attenborough, as you do, and he was doing the destruction of the reefs around Australia, so the Great Barrier Reef, and they covered a section on the big spawning on the reefs every year in November, where the reefs, if you like, come alive, shall we say, for a few minutes. And I thought that would be an interesting idea and probably something that you might not have seen before. The story pretty much formed around that. And I guess from there to, it's only a short jump really to, getting a sea-based sexually transmitted disease and bringing it ashore.
I was like, don't spoil it.
Well, you'll get the gist in a minute, that's for sure. So, So I really didn't think I'd have to actually read this when I wrote it. So you'll see the awkwardness.
And I'm glad you volunteered
throughout. I must get around to listening to the audio version of it to see how the narrator did.
Yeah. I'm going to be looking for narrators soon. That might be the one that I send them to get them to like test so I can hear how they read it.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, oh my gosh, what kind of book is this? Good one. All right. Well, I'm going to leave you. I'm going to hit the right button and have fun.
Okay. Okie doke. So I'm just going to read the opening section of my story, Reef Encounter. I can hear you sniggering, Michelle. At least mute your mic so I can get through this. Ali stretched over the side of the boat and ran her hand through the water. Bioluminescent plankton slipped through her fingers, leaving long green streamers trailing in their wake. She loved the reef, especially on moonless nights, and now they'd cleared the light pollution of Innisfil. The constellations were clear to see. She sighed as her fingers entwined with the plastic rings of a discarded beer pack. How far would they have to go to escape all the town's pollution? Unwinding the trash from her fingers, she wished she could wave a wand and rake all the toxic waste from the struggling reef. Ali, we're here. Suit up, sis, said Steve, climbing down from the bridge as the drone of the boat's engines cut out. He ruffled her hair on his way back to check the oxygen tanks. A strapping 6 foot of bronze muscle, Steve, or Steve-O to his mates, fancied himself a professional surfer. He was never happier than when he was hanging 10, although his chances of going pro had slipped away several seasons ago with the discs in his back. Kate appeared from below deck, sleep-styled blonde hair snaking across her face in the whisper of wind. Stretching and yawning, she blew the loose locks aside. We here? Ali held up the tangle of plastic. I'll take that as a yes. Bloody tourists, said Kate, tying back her errant hair. I'd like to shove that up with a swoosh. Doug slid down the ladder, landing with a thud. Right, ladies, are you ready for the biggest orgasm of your life? Kate and Ali rolled their eyes. Doug owned the boat. He was Steve's best mate, and he scratched a living chartering the cruiser for summer fishing trips far off the reef in the deep water. Years in the sun had aged him well beyond his 40 years. Leathery, tanned skin and greasy, greying hair made him look 60. Kate pushed past him to retrieve her diving kit. Like last weekend. Promises. Hey, it happens to us all. You wouldn't hold that against a fella, would you? I wouldn't hold anything against you, mumbled Ali, spitting in her goggles. Or any fella, if the... Doug gasped as an oxygen tank to the thorax knocked the wind out of his sails. Any idea of protesting vanished along with Steve's easygoing surfer dude persona. No one messed with Ali with her big brother around. Thanks, mate, Doug gasped, sliding on the tank and shooting daggers at Ali. She smirked back at him and adjusted her wetsuit. If we don't get the monster of all money shots this time, I ain't coming back, said Kate, pulling on her flippers. She had a knack of diffusing a situation, having plenty of practice teaching at Innisfil East State School. Doug dropped the boat's anchor. Trust me, I got a good feeling. Tonight's the night. The friends readied their diving gear, hoping Doug had timed it right for once. Predicting the yearly reef spawning was an inexact science, but once a year in mid-November, when the temperatures and the tides aligned, the largest organism on the planet indulged in an oceanic orgy. For 20 minutes, every coral, polyp, starfish and clam across the reef orgasmed in one of nature's most spectacular events. In all the years Ali had lived and dived around Innisfil, she'd never seen it. Few townsfolk had. Doug had, and he'd never stopped talking about it. The way he described it, it was a winter wonderland of jizz. I was never going to get through that line. I'm done. I was never going to get that line out. Michelle, save me. Yeah, you're on mute now.
Are you ending it at the winter wonderland of orgies?
Jizz. Yeah, I'm stopping it. Winter wonderland of jizz. That's the. In fact, that's the. I did a few competitions, and when you're reading the short, like flash fiction competitions, there's always a phrase in there. The ones that win, there's always a phrase that just kind of stands out. I remember actually there was a boat one, or a sea-based one, in one of the competitions, and the phrase was "shark in a can," and it had this shark in a shipping container. And that was it. Once you read that, it was done. And it was the same for Winter Wonderland of Jizz. that was pretty much cemented.
I have to admit, like, I've read a lot of your stories, but this one, it just surprised me. Because I was like, did this actually come from Chris? And it did. And
it came from somewhere.
That's the way that I said it.
I channeled it.
So, yeah. I appreciate the smut because I love it.
Yeah.
So we've got some. We love you for trying though, Chris. Just everyone's dying because it was amazing. That's one hell of a
yeah. If you want to know more about what happens, you're gonna have to get the book.
I know. If you want to hear what happens after the Winter Wonderland of Jizz, you must buy the book.
Oh, Christ. You really should have talked about some new postcards for it.
I'm actually thinking, I'm like, I wonder if I can put this quote on the book somewhere.
Yeah, if anyone's reviewing it, you feel free to put that line in.
Feel free to quote that section. Now you know how to get the next Erie River anthology. Give Michelle
smart.
Some smut.
It's smart. If you haven't figured it out, it's smut.
I'm not gonna lie, I do appreciate some good smut here and there. Okay, we are going to bring everyone back. But thank you so much for reading, because honestly, like, it was a lot of fun. Oh, another one, Stephen Neal. It comes from the bedroom, coming 2022. I'm not saying no to that. And then Neen's laughing at the fact, well, being like, oh my gosh, you said it with a straight face. I did. Very little things make me embarrassed. I just find them hilarious.
Well, the most embarrassing one for me right now is my partner, Wendy Hoskins, who's it surprised you. Sure as hell surprised me.
Okay, so I'm adding everyone back on the screen. So, Georgia, you're coming on next. Just so everyone is aware. Tim. Simone.
Waving.
Just so no one's doing something weird like.
Can I just say kudos for saying Winter Wonderland of Jizz with a straight face, Michelle.
I didn't manage it.
That killed me. It was the deadpan. Winter Wonderland of Jizz.
That was the
newsreader.
That was the original name of the story, but Chris bottled it at last moment.
Oh, yeah.
Could you imagine the table of contents? Like, Amazon would just flag it. They'd be like, no.
That's your short story collection right there, Chris.
Yeah.
Winter Wonderland of Jizz.
Well, when I wrote it, it was amusing, and I never realised I'd have to read it. So,
Yeah,
That's the price you pay.
yeah, exactly. I won't make that mistake again.
Oh, brilliant.
Yes, you will. Because now our expectations are here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull 3 names. We're going to do 3 names for postcard and bookmark. Now, these are the sexy postcards. If you haven't bought some of our postcards before, they've got the bloody fingerprints and everything you want out of a horror postcard. And then a nice little bookmark. So I will be sending those out to these winners. And in case people think I'm cheating, I'm not.
Yeah, I showed everybody like taking him out of the pot. Because I pulled his name out of it, everyone's convinced.
I know, you gotta do it. Okay, this one says a name. Oh, do you know? I'm just gonna read it. Jennifer, you're a winner.
If it's David, I'm out of here.
Adrian, I did not put his name in. Adrian, you are a winner. And oh my gosh, Dan Lee, you are a winner. I think I just didn't write your last name in there. So you guys are going to be getting some postcards. So if you can, send me a message either through Michelle River or Erie River, or I'll tag you after all of this fun stuff and get your address so I can send those out. But we have some questions from people. If you do have another question, put it in now, because we're going to be wrapping up pretty quickly. After we've gone through the questions. I'm just trying to find them because some of them are up fairly high.
Yeah, this is the bit that always gets me, is when you get to the end of it, trying to remember where the hell the questions were in the thing.
Exactly, because it doesn't give you an option to flag something. Like I can.
No, so you just got to scroll through it. I end up missing things all the time.
Yeah, right.
And then people just get, why didn't you ask my question?
I've got a question for Tim.
I didn't see it.
Tim, how much did Chris's sexy sea story do it for you?
Oh, mate.
There's tentacles in the next chapter, mate.
Oh, mate.
There's a whole sea monster.
With that one, man.
Yeah,
seriously.
Oh, I found a question. I did find. No, I'm missing a question, but I did find one. How often do you leave the first draft before starting to edit? Is it more dependent on how long you have to write it, or do you give yourself distance? That's a good question. Who'd like to take that one? Well, we can go around Robin. Here you go, Chris.
Okay. So yeah, David's laughing because he knows I leave everything to the last moment, the last possible moment. So yeah, I really.
Is that with writing and editing, though?
I'm glad you said writing and editing. Yes, writing and editing. Yeah. I generally, on most things, they don't sit around long enough to really kind of sink in a bit, which is a shame actually, because some of the stories, when they get rejected, I then often actually go back and make them the story they should have been in the first place. So
well, then
I really should make more time.
Else too, though. That's the thing about rejection, is that you can always just submit elsewhere. But
oh no, absolutely, and most rejections are for very good reasons. That should, if I had if I left myself enough time, if I had the discipline, then yeah, you'd write it, leave it a month, come back to it, take David's comments, because David reads a lot of my stuff. Yeah. So he was the first to see Jizz.
I was the first to see the Winter Wonderland of Jizz.
Yeah,
I think I actually left a comment on that bit as well. I remember you saying that I think I might get rid of this line.
Everyone's left their mark on that bit, mate.
No, don't get rid of that bit. That bit's
do not.
I want it on a t-shirt, mate.
I think your whole comments were keep this bit and rewrite the rest around it.
I want a Winter Wonderland of Jizz t-shirt.
Oh my God.
There you go. The merch is sorted.
I'm officially going to put that on a t-shirt for Chris.
I'll wear it. I'll wear it.
So, Georgia, what are you doing? How do you do your story writing? Do you take your time between writing to editing, or do you do it all at once?
Well, I sort of depends on the length of the piece. Really, I believe in finishing something, making sure that you finish something no matter how bad it is when you finish it. And then generally I'll leave it for about 2 or 3 days just to sort of think about it, or try and forget as much of it as possible. And then I'll come back in and I'll edit it, and I'll do backbone bits first, so the plot itself, and then I'll go through and try and make pacing edits and all those little bits. And generally it'll be about 2 or 3 drafts before it's something that I'm like, okay, I might be able to send this somewhere. I'll let someone else read it.
Oh, okay. So you tend to let things settle or sit for a bit.
I do, yeah. I don't trust first draft Georgia to know what she's writing. I just want to finish it, and then I consider it.
What about you, David?
Well, I write in sections. So I'll write a paragraph, or not paragraph, but a scene or a chapter, and then I'll go back and kind of rewrite it, and then rewrite it again, and then I'll send it to Chris, who is also my beta reader. So we have quite a good partnership going there, and then he'll do his comments, and that's usually then it's 2 or 3 days, and then I'll have a look at what he says, and then maybe leave it a day or so, and then kind of have a look at it again, and then put it on a sent through. But I'm kind of quite well organized with that kind of stuff, because I've got just really bad OCD. So if I see a deadline when it might be a month away, and I start panicking that I'm running out of time for it. So I'm like the anti-Chris in the Dave-Chris relationship.
Everyone has their own
the anti-Hewitt.
The anti-Hewitt. Yeah, because I'll it's funny because when we're writing for a same call, I'll send him something within the first few weeks of the call being open, and I'll be like, don't forget to send me yours like the night before the call finishes.
Yeah.
I feel like I believe that.
It's true.
It's absolutely true.
Yeah. Simone, how do you handle stories? Are you one that writes ahead? Do you edit right away?
Oh, I edit as I write, line by line. I pathologically can't help myself. I should say I absolutely hate editing, but only my own stuff. If anybody else needs me to tell them what is wrong with their stuff, I will happily do that. But for myself, I absolutely hate it. Looking back over my own work is... I do not like to do it, so I edit as I go.
So is your first draft then essentially your last draft?
Often, yes.
Wow. That's impressive.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit neurotic, but...
It is.
It works.
But if it works for you, it works for you. I am one of those people that like, I write a sentence, rewrite it, write a sentence, rewrite it. But then I also have to go back because none of my sentences make sense anyways. And I have to rewrite the whole thing like 4 or 5 times anyways. So like, I do try to self-edit, but then I obviously can't actually edit very well. So.
That sounds like bravery to me, Michelle. 5 or 6 times I almost fainted thinking about that.
That's why I don't write very much right now, because I don't have time to do that. All right. How did you work, Tim? How is your editing process?
Well, my entire writing process is kind of chaos. I wish I was as disciplined as people like Georgia and all the rest of it. But again, I'm also like David. I see a deadline. They can be like 2 months away, but I'll panic about it. But the way I write is I kind of write in an almost stream of consciousness. I'll just sit and I'll just type, and I'll just type and I'll type and I'll type until it's finished. I don't never plan. I'm a complete pantser, and I just kind of just go for it. And then after that, I'll go through it and basically go, no, that bit's crap, cut. That bit's crap, cut. That bit's crap, cut. And then I'll pass it to my partner, who's my beta reader. And she'll basically go, well, that bit, yeah, that's all good, whatever. And that's pretty much me done. I have 2 main phases. I just thrash it out, and then I just take the scissors to it.
Yeah.
And that's probably why I can't keep to word counts.
Yeah.
It's just like
you need more scissors.
Yeah, all right.
No, I hear everything. Yeah. No, it's interesting to see how everyone has like a different kind of take, because we're all different people, right? We write differently, we think differently, our brains work differently. So it's interesting to see how everyone takes it. And there is no right or wrong answer, unless apparently you're me and you have to write something 17 times. Now, there was a question from Michelle, but I can't find it anymore. She wanted to know whether or not people were writing for this. I think it was specific to this call. Did you have a story that was already there? Or did you write specifically for It Calls from the Sea? Let's go for Tim.
Yeah, mine was specifically for it. Yeah, so the thing is, I had it in my head, like, because I saw when you'd announced, like, because I was in Forest. When you'd announced the sea and also sky. So I already had basically in my head, but because I have a lot of, like, so many different bloody things going on, it was just a kind of like, right, I know as soon as I saw the call, it's like, right, I'm going to do something about seaweed.
Yeah.
So I had that in my head. So as soon as it opened, I just kind of went, oh, seaweed.
That's perfect.
That's kind of like my life, to be fair. I just go and hope for the best.
Seaweed.
So, yeah.
I feel like that's about right. Right? Yeah. Isn't that how everyone is?
Yeah, pretty much, I think.
It is for me anyway. How about Georgia? Did you write specifically for this call, or was it something that you had already had written?
I think it was something that I had the start of. So I had the first sort of 300 words, and then I'd been like, I'm never going to find anywhere for this, and I stopped it. And then I saw the call, and I was like, oh, no, I do have a sea story. And I remember when I was finishing it and editing it, I was so worried, like, oh, gosh, is this enough of the sea? have I put enough of the sea into this for this call?
Yeah.
So it was partially done, and then this call helped me finish it.
Oh, excellent. Well, I'm glad we got it. Chris, was this something that you had?
It's something
my
recollection about.
This one was,
it was in
you
my
wrote this specifically for.
Yeah, I had to look in my jizz pile of, script and thought, there's a C. No, I wrote for this one.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, specifically for this one. And specifically with the humour in it to, yeah.
I know he's thinks about it in the drawer full of hundreds of stories that just have different creatures having intimate.
I almost said the jizz bucket there and thought, no.
Oh no!
Don't put your hand in the jizz bucket. That is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a whole anthology just in this, Michelle. I mean,
I agree. I'm taking notes.
Yep.
Oh, that was something I meant to say.
Don't ask me. Don't ask
time. I meant to point out that when you put up that comment about it calls from the bedroom, I saw your eyes, Michelle. They just sort of went.
I'm not. We're not having this discussion right now.
But later,
you can tell.
Just we
there is a part
of
me that really wants to do a smutty anthology, but then there's also a part of me that's like, wait, does Erie River want to do this, or does Michelle want to do this?
Yeah. All I'm going to say to you, Michelle,
there's a fine line between Michelle Erie and Michelle River.
All I'm going to say to you, Michelle River, is Sharpie.
Yeah. And that's what I mean.
Yeah. Hardly anybody's going to get that, but
there's going to be some people that do. Simone, you said you already had this one already kind of done. We went through that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. David, did you write specifically for this one? I think you did.
I did, yeah. Chris's line, by the way, his story came from his diary. And
Shh! Oi!
Jesus,
you're not meant to show
he just changed the names. That was all he did.
Okay.
Mine was
true story.
Yeah. Mine was written. I generally just always write just for the calls because I've not been writing long enough to have a load of stuff already kind of written. But this is my second one that I wrote for this one. I got one, I wasn't right for it, so I was like, I'm definitely going to try again, and I did. So it's so twice I wrote for it.
Yeah, I'm glad you tried again because it was like I said, I really enjoyed this story. Okay, so we've got one more, and then we're going to wrap up and say goodbye because I know we're over time just a little bit. This one looks like it's from Holly. Oh, it's from me. What do you look for when crafting anthology besides excellent stories? Of course, are you looking for a variety or to make a cohesive collection? That's a really good question. When I go through the stories, I tend to look for my favorite ones. So the ones that I rate that drew my attention regardless of the genre of horror that they are. If they're written really well, have interesting characters, scared me a little bit, give me an emotional reaction, had an interesting plot twist, I put them all together. Then I read through them again. And I essentially start rating them through that at that point, whether or not how much of a reaction I got, whether or not I second guessed it, whether or not I actually remembered it. I normally, if I can remember the story and I remember it with a good kind of sense of it, then I put it into another pile. I try not to make sure that we have the same storyline theme because when you're getting hundreds of stories, you're going to have multiple shark stories. You're going to have multiple tentacle stories, kelpie stories, all these other things. So at that point, when I've whittled it down to top 40, then I start looking at them with a little bit more eye and go, okay, I can only have one of these types of stories. I can only have one of these types of stories. I do like a little bit of variety in the genre itself. So some of them will be gothic horror. Some of them will be Lovecraftian. Some will have the shock horror. Some will be a little bit more of the quiet romantic horror. So I do like a variety of the genre, but I still want it to have the dread, the fear, the scare within it. I want it to have, for me anyways, a lot of them I want to have the same vibe, but it doesn't have to necessarily be the same genre throughout. I just subgenre. I do like a mix, and I like some mix of lengths as well. Some short, some big. I try not to have a lot of small stories. So you'll find that only a few of them are under 3,000 words because for me anyways, I find I like longer stories. So that's what I end up printing. But yes.
Which is a good thing for me and Chris Hewitt, because we tend to do ridiculously long stories.
Well, and I like, but again, if your story is like Georgia's story is a shorter story, but it was impactful and it had that sense within it, it kept me engaged from like word one to the very last word. And so if you can keep me engaged and interested, and it tells a story within that space of writing, then it could move forward. It does move forward. But I tend not to do I tend not to do 10 stories that are 3,000 and under. I tend to only have a sprinkle of them within the larger stories. And same as I don't tend to have a lot of $8,000. Oh, I would love to have a couple of $8,000 words. Like
$8,000.
I'll take a couple of that. I don't tend to have a lot of the 8,000 word stories either. So because all the words have to matter in those stories, and sometimes it's a little bit too much editing. But anyways, thank you everybody for joining. I hope that answered the question about anthologies for authors and stuff. But thanks everyone for joining and watching us. And thank you, authors, Chris, Georgia, David, Simone, and Tim, for joining us today. It was a blast, and I hope everyone enjoyed your readings, because I know I did.
Thank you for having us.
Cheers.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. And if anyone else, again, we have people that win this. I'll get in touch with you. But It Calls from the Sea is live today. You can buy it in paperback, hardcover at any of your local stores. All you need to do is go to them and tell them to order it in. Or you can order through our website. Go on to our book order form. Just go to books, and then I think there's an order form button. If not, I will link it. You can order directly through me, or Amazon does them as well. So lots of different ways to get your hands on our books. Ebook is out as well. It's for $2.99 US. And this $2.99 is only going to last for probably another week. And then it's going to be up to the regular price at $3.99. So get it now while you can. But thank you so much for joining us, everyone. And thank you for your time. Have a great day. Bye, everybody.
Waving.